Good evening, one and all. Welcome along. It's season 1, episode 3 of the UK Cowboys Roundtable. It's myself and Graham together for a cozy Saturday night chat. I don't think we've done this in a while,
a
Graham.
nice little dinner date. I might put on a candle later.
Yeah, a little bit of romantic music, glass of wine. How are things, Graham?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, not bad. 8 days to go, so it was exciting.
Yeah.
Well, 8 days for
Very
Cowboys
true.
football anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose a lot has happened, Graham, since you were last on in terms of there's been a couple of trades made. We've had the roster cut downs.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to touch on there before we jump into tonight's topic for the roundtable?
There seems to be a lot of hate on the Trey Lance deal, and I don't quite understand it.
Yeah.
Just don't pay Dak. Just draft one. Well, we have effectively drafted first round talent for our fourth round pick.
Yeah.
That's how I see the situation anyway. I mean, he wasn't ready to step in. Fair enough. Not many of them are. You don't catch lightning in a bottle like a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen every single week, every single year. So let the guy sit and learn for 18 months. If Dak doesn't produce, then why not throw Trey Lance in for a game or two, see what happens? It's a cheap way of getting an alternative because as much as we like Cooper Rush, he's 30, 31.
Yeah.
I think so. He's not going to be around forever.
No.
He's also extremely well paid. Now, obviously, you're going to have to pay Trey Lance at one point. I'm not sure off the top of my head if the Cowboys get the 5th-year option on him because
they can pick up that 5th-year option if they want.
They can do it. I mean, it's an awful lot of money. It will be an awful lot of money.
I think it's $5 million is what it is because he hasn't been a Pro Bowler or an All-Pro player yet. So effectively, it's only whatever money he should be getting on that 5th year at say a base level. But even at that, as you say, it's a lot for a backup QB.
It's a lot for a backup, especially when you're talking about. I mean, let's face it. You're gonna be talking, as silly as this sounds, you're going to be talking around the $60 million mark. Because we've already broken through 50, 51, 52 million. So it gets to frightening numbers. They've brought Lance in for a reason. They haven't done it just for a laugh. They are trying to build Trey Lance into something that he wants to be, something that he showed during the draft process that he could be. The 49ers jumped up to 3 to get him. They weren't particularly fussed about who fell. I think they must have been happy with all 3 because to go up to 3, you must be happy with whoever falls. You can't just be sitting there and hoping that or the other 2 who were drafted ahead escape me just now, but you can't be hoping one of those guys falls. Let's give up all this draft capital in the future to go up and get whoever hopefully falls out to 3. They must have liked all 3. So they've seen something in Trey Lance. Mike McCarthy has seen something in Trey Lance, and we got him for our 4th round pick, which for a starting quarterback is nothing. It really is nothing. So I don't see him challenging Dak Prescott at any point, but it's a viable option to bring in, develop, learn from Dak, learn from Mike McCarthy, and we'll see what happens. If he turns out to be, the guy that the 49ers thought he was going to be, that's valuable trade bait as well.
Yeah.
If nothing else.
Yeah, that is true. And it's great to see those comments coming in from Elizabeth and Joe. And folks, if you do have comments, don't be afraid to drop them in there. We'll pull them up as we come along. And you can see there Elizabeth saying she's excited about having Trey Lance on the roster. And I think that's kind of the point you're making, Graham, in this. Yeah, he might not have been the third best pick in his draft class, but teams saw something in the player. You've said for all 3 years we've had Mike McCarthy, he's not a mug. He knows what he's doing. He's won a Super Bowl. There's not many of them in the NFL today. There's not many head coaches. So,
no,
they know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, he hasn't won the starting job, and it just shows how much of the lottery the draft is, because Mr. Irrelevant is now the starter for the 49ers. Who would have saw that coming? Yeah, I don't get. Maybe hatred's a strong word for it. Maybe some people think that he is brought in to challenge Prescott this season, which is not going to happen in a month of Sundays. Like I said, Cooper Rush is not getting any younger.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first time they've carried 3 quarterbacks for a while that I can think of.
I think they carried Greer last year on the roster because, and I think for most of them he was inactive because generally I think they were allowed to elevate 3 times from the practice squad, and once you did it the third time, they had to stay on the 53-man roster. I'm just trying to think. Other than that, have they done it? I can't think of it either. To be honest with you,
I suppose it never came to the forefront because Dak played the entire season. I suppose.
Yeah, I think maybe you're talking about the season Dak actually started when obviously we had Tony Romo there, we had Kellen Moore there. We took Dak in the draft. We also took Cooper Rush as an undrafted free agent, and you kind of had them, obviously Tony got injured, Kellen got injured, and Dak came in and balled out.
Yeah, I like the move. There's a few people out there that do like the move. I mean, I've seen a couple of comparisons where look who we've taken in the 4th round in history, and I think they're basically saying we've done well in the 4th round, but you've tried to bring in the alternative without spending a 1st round pick.
Yeah,
plenty of people thought Trey Lance was a 1st round talent, and it just simply hasn't happened for him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you could argue that he's on a particularly good team in the 49ers. Why hasn't that happened on a good team like the 49ers? That question remains to be answered. Whether it was down, I haven't seen a great deal of him, if I'm perfectly honest, whether it was down to ball security or if passing accuracy, or if they just felt that he wasn't a good fit in the locker room. Don't know. But you can be sure they've done their homework at some point on Trey Lance, because you don't draft 3rd overall if you have a red flag.
Yeah.
So to me, it just hasn't worked out for the guy. There have been plenty of instances in the past. Kurt Warner's probably the biggest one. Kurt Warner was playing in the NFL Europe. It didn't have a team, didn't have a sniff at a team. Ends up with a Super Bowl ring. So it can happen for guys later in their career. I mean, think of Wilson at the Jets. Starts the first 2 years, doesn't do particularly well. All of a sudden, he's asked to step out.
Yeah,
I don't think the Jets are done with Zach Wilson. They just had an opportunity at a Hall of Famer. They'll probably pick up Wilson's 5th-year option and go from there, because I don't see Rodgers playing more than 3 years.
No, I can't see it either.
I mean, what a guy to learn from.
Yeah,
and Dak Prescott can be that guy as well, because to my knowledge, Trey Lance never had the older head. Well, at least I don't think he did.
He had Jimmy Garoppolo, but I mean Jimmy G spent as much time injured as anything. Like Trey Lance was injured for a stage Jamie was injured for a stage, and obviously then they had to move to Brock Purdy last season because both of them were injured.
Yeah, it remains to be seen. You won't see him this season. Well,
Yeah.
Fingers crossed we won't see him this season.
Mm-hmm.
Not because he's a bad guy, not because he's a bad player, simply because you don't
Yeah.
want Dak to go down.
Yeah.
This is one for 2 or 3 seasons down the line.
Yeah.
All the guaranteed money, I'm aware, I think, is with the 49ers. So it's low risk. Fourth round pick is next to nothing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Fourth round pick is when you start to roll the dice. They've
Yeah.
either got a red flag or they're a special team or trying to be a starter.
Yeah.
And they're Mark Anthony agrees with me. He doesn't think it was not a locker room issue. It just simply didn't happen for the guy.
Yeah.
The 49ers will have sat down at some point, looked Trey Lance in the eye, and he will have passed all the checks. Like what happens when I make you a multi-millionaire? How often are you going to be in the building? How early are you going to be in the building? Are you going to be the first guy in and the last guy to leave? And he will have said yes to all those questions, and the 49ers will have accepted that and believed them. He's not a bad kid. He doesn't get suspended. I think he's had injury history, but
he's had a big injury history.
Maybe it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
But again, Brock Purdy's not without his injury list.
No. Like, I mean, he's not sure if he starts next week for the 49ers. And they might be rolling with Sam Darnold. So you just don't know what's going to happen. I'm just going to go back up a couple of comments here because Joe put this in. He said, I believe Trey Lance trade will be a distraction if they don't give Dak an extension soon. And Elizabeth came back in relation to that and she said, Stephen Jones is looking to get an extension done real soon. So what's your own take on that?
My take on it is that Dak again will be looking to be highest paid, despite no Super Bowl rings again, just yet, and Lance is in the building basically because I think he's a safety net. I think he's a safety net that they go, right, 60 million for Dak Prescott. Are we going to pull the trigger? And viewers might be watching me thinking, 60 million? Really? Are we going to go that? Yeah, we are going to go that high.
Yeah.
It's not far away. I think is it 52 million just now?
Yeah. It's
somebody
So Lamar went to 50. Someone came in after Lamar to move it to 51. And I think Joe Burrow's deal is due, which will move it to, say, 52, 53 million.
I mean, see when you really think about it, that's a fifth of your cap.
Yeah.
On one guy.
Yeah.
You've still got 52 others to pay. It's quite incredible.
Yeah.
And at some point, somebody, some general manager or some owner is going to say, no, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
We'll keep that 60 million and we'll have a starting left tackle, a starting defensive end, and a good wide receiver instead. Because that's effectively what it is.
Yeah.
You're right. It's crazy money.
Yeah.
Are you going to get to the stage where Super Bowl winners are teams with quarterbacks still on their rookie deal? Because as soon as you pay them, you can't pay anybody else. I mean, Lamar's good. Don't get me wrong, Lamar's good.
Yeah.
But I better hope that defense is good as well, because
I don't see Lamar winning Baltimore Super Bowl. I'm going to be honest and say this. I don't see Dak winning us the Super Bowl. And it's hard to say you're going to hand over, as you say, 55 to 60 million a year for a guy who you're not 100% sure of. And I suppose it is why, as you say, teams are moving towards that mold of, let's see what we can do with a guy on a rookie deal. Mahomes won one. Joe Burrow got to a Super Bowl on his rookie deal.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen hasn't managed to do it, so
I see Mark's come in again and said,
yeah,
no, they won't. They will pay.
Yeah,
he's probably right. I would say he's pretty much right, because I've said plenty of times on the show in the past that if the Cowboys don't pay him, somebody will.
Yeah,
there aren't 32 of them to go around. I mean, you look at some of the teams just scrambling for a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
The Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Like who can we get? Who's available? You don't want to be scrambling at the quarterback position. The Raiders are trading, the Broncos are trading for guys in the league, not necessarily at the peak of their game anymore, simply because the talent's not there. I mean, right now, I know they've got Kyler Murray, but the Cardinals would love to have Dak Prescott.
Oh yeah.
Right now. Goodness, who else? Think what Washington would give up for Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see how Sam Howell goes, but goodness, it doesn't fill you with confidence, does it?
No.
That's the problem. There aren't 32 of them to go around, and until there are, the quarterback salary is just going to go through the roof.
Yeah.
You can be average, run of the mill. You can be a top 15, and you'll be looking to reset the market. And let's not forget, Jimmy Garoppolo reset the market once. He was once top paid at $30 million, and that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
When you think about it,
Kirk Cousins has reset the market at one point.
Oh goodness, yeah.
Wow. I'm just going to pull in Steve's comment here. He's saying, is Dak at the level of the big names? I mean, if your name's not Mahomes or Rodgers in this league, I think every one of them has a question mark over them that they still have something to prove.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree. Yeah. Obviously, quarterback position is the most important position in all of sports. I think you could argue the case. I mean, you could, like, obviously there's bigger, like goalkeeper in soccer, for instance, and all that kind of stuff. But if you don't have somebody to open up defenses, hand the ball off, check downs, change plays, somebody that knows what they're doing, you're not going to succeed in the NFL. I mean, the answer to Steve's question, he's probably top 10. I wouldn't put him in. I wouldn't put him inside the top 5. But you don't want a quarterback outside the top 10 because you're not gonna win with him, if you know what I mean. You're not going to be playing football in February. Put it that way.
Yeah, I fully agree.
And that's the problem. You can't. I mean, I mock the phrase all the time. Just draft one. Go and ask the 49ers how that worked out. You know, their third selection overall is now in another team, and Mr. Irrelevant is now their starter. It's wild. It's just wild.
So, is there anything you want to talk about in terms of 53 or the trade for? Oh, actually, sorry. How did I miss this, Graham? Your good friend is no longer on the roster. What have you to say?
It's please don't ask me to pronounce his name.
Noah Igbenogany.
That'll take a while. That will take a while. It's one team who realize they've made a bust, and another team who realize they've made a bust, and going, let's say we swap and see if we can get some kind of traction out of these guys. I said he wasn't going to be on the roster. I mean, that's no great crystal ball moment. I think pretty much we all knew that. I mean, I'm not claiming to be some sort of seer. It was pretty obvious. I was just pointing that out. I don't know if the guy comes in and does well at corner. Fair play to him. He former first round pick 3 years ago, and it hasn't happened for him. But he's still 3 years into his career.
Yeah,
he wasn't put out on the street at any point.
No.
Now, whether that's the Dolphins trying to make something good out of the situation, they see it as Kelvin Joseph hasn't worked out in Dallas. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah.
But for me, putting Kelvin Joseph in South Beach, I'll just leave it. I'll just leave it there. That Will Smith, anybody? So we'll see. Listen, the guy might turn his career around. That might be the shot in the arm that he needs. I don't see it.
I did say it to Lauren on Thursday evening's show. I said the return of the alter ego may be about to happen, and we might get a third, fourth, and a fifth album before Christmas.
Kelvin Joseph has been in the music studio since February.
Yeah.
And the only reason he's come out of the music studio is because he's been asked to move to South Florida. So we'll see how that goes. But the flags were there.
They were. But if we move along, Graham, to the main point of this show, look, this was something you were quite passionate about and something you wanted to touch on in terms of this whole off season. None of the Dallas Cowboys starting 11 on offense or defense have taken a preseason snap. And I'm going to open it up to you.
Yeah. So regular listeners to the show will know that I feel that starters should play at some point. I feel that starters should have live football before going out in front of millions of TV viewers, thousands in the stands, and being paid millions of dollars. Now, whether that's a coaching decision or a player decision, I think I think they should be on the field. This might be player power. It might well be, but if that's the case, then it's wrong. The last hit that Dak Prescott took, the last live bang hit that Dak Prescott took was in January.
Yeah.
His next one is on primetime TV in New York. Yeah. In a week's time. Now, for me, that's wrong because he's been wearing that nice big red jersey.
Yep.
For the past month. Do not touch me. Anybody that touches me goes home now.
Yeah.
It doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah.
I don't see how the body can be ready for a Thibodeau sack. Bang.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't taken any in practice. He hasn't taken any OTAs.
Nope.
He's been in shorts for a lot of the time. I mean, the guy's even been calling plays. Is that what we want our $40 million man doing?
Mm-hmm.
Calling plays in a preseason game?
Yeah.
I'm not sure it is. I mean, I want to see what people think.
Yeah.
In the comments, because I get it. A lot of teams do it. You know, that team in the Northeast that wear green, they've been doing it.
Yeah.
I don't see many starters coming out of them. But I thought I would, just before the start of the show, I thought I would go through. So who has been playing? Well,
Mm-hmm.
Kenny Pickett in his second year, he played for the Steelers in the third game.
Yeah.
Just checked, the Eagles didn't play. Anthony Richardson played. Bryce Young, first overall, played.
Yeah. CJ Stroud.
Bailey Sapp could end up as a starter, played. Patriots.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy played. Sam Darnold played. Josh Allen, you might have heard of him. He's quite good. He played.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Mahomes played week 2. I don't know if he played in the third week.
Yeah.
You know, the guy that just won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers played.
Yeah.
Super Bowl winner. Hall of Famer. Yeah. These guys felt like they needed to play. So there you are. There's 3 at the top, and we haven't seen Joe Burrow because he's injured.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes, Super Bowl winner, played. Aaron Rodgers, Super Bowl winner, played. Josh Allen, Super Bowl contender, played.
Mm-hmm.
The first rounders played.
Yeah.
You know, the guy, their shiny new quarterback they threw out there in preseason. It doesn't sit well with me that these guys, the first live action they'll see is live on a primetime game.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Now, the other argument, of course, is, well, what if he gets injured?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Andy Reid thought that. And the other head coaches escaped me, but the Bills thought that.
Sean McDermott
must have thought that at some point. Somebody will have said that in his ear. What if Josh goes down? Yeah, well, he's only in there for a quarter. He's only in there for a half. These things happen. These things happen.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe, just bringing up, thanks for the comment, Joe. Patrick Mahomes played in the preseason. He felt like there was rust, or he felt like there was a new system, or new teammates, or you get what I mean?
Yeah.
I think Tom Brady must have played in preseason.
Yeah.
You know, the guy that's got 6 rings? He must have played in preseason at some point.
Yeah.
I'm coming across as a wee bit sarky tonight, but it just doesn't sit well with me. Think of this. Dak Prescott's never thrown a live ball to one of his receivers.
Yeah.
You know,
he's going to jog out next week.
Brandon Cooks he's never caught in front of a crowd. He's never caught a ball from Dak Prescott in front of the crowd. And the first ball he's going to catch is in a primetime game, live in New York.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. It just doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah.
That was quite a rant, wasn't it? I carried that for quite a while there.
It was, but I think it's I agree with you in terms of what you've said and how you've said it, because it's my own feeling, and you kind of alluded to it, and then you went back, but you did an about turn on it in terms of what if he gets injured. And the issue I have is Tyron Smith didn't play in the offseason last year, but got injured whilst he was in OTAs. A guy can get injured in training. A guy can get injured on the very first snap of the season, and they're gone. So saying we should protect guys to make sure they get to the season fit doesn't work for me. I think you've nailed it in terms of saying guys need real-time reps and they need to see it. And if you look at it, and Joe has kind of made the point here, last season our starters didn't play and they struggled against Tampa Bay.
Because they weren't ready.
Yeah.
Simple as that. They weren't ready. I mean, I know it's only a quarter, but it gives them a taste.
Yeah.
It lets the body get that feeling back. Do you know, Joe? You're absolutely right. Yeah, and we've Joe's one of our long-term listeners, and he knows the pains that Rich, I, yourself have gone through. Yeah, we're going to stay away from offensive line tonight, Brian, if you don't mind, because it's I think we've talked it to death.
So for anyone that's listening in, so Joe has just commented and said Tyron Smith gets hurt brushing his teeth. I think that's entirely true, Joe. So we could not leave that there, but. If you go back to it, Graham, and talk about last season and the rustiness that was there for that Tampa Bay game, like you're going to New York, you're playing a divisional rival to open season. It's in primetime football. And not just Dak Prescott hasn't taken a snap. Your star defensive player, who is apparently now a defensive end, hasn't taken a snap in anger.
I mean, yeah. It's slightly different for Micah because he'll have gone hard against other teams.
Mm-hmm.
He'll have gone hard against Smith, against whoever he lines up against.
Yeah.
Because basically, if they don't go hard in practice, then they get called out.
Yeah.
I've never played the game myself, but I would imagine inflicting the hit is a hell of a lot easier than taking it.
Yeah.
He'll have been on the ground at some point. Somebody will have knocked him on the ground at some point. They'll have jarred his helmet. They'll have pushed him a certain way that might have had him feel something. That's slightly different.
Yeah.
The big one that gets me is the Dak Prescott sacks and tackles for loss. I mean, obviously the guys played the game long enough, and he knows what a hit feels like. He knows what to expect. But I don't know how your body can prepare for that kind of contact.
Yeah.
Because, like I say again, he's been wearing a nice big red shirt for the past month. Do not touch me. The closest Micah Parsons has ever got to Dak Prescott was brushing past his shoulder or putting a hand on his chest or his shoulder pad or his arm. That's as much as he's had.
Yeah.
Anybody that touches the quarterback or sacks the quarterback, hits him, brushes against him, is in the locker room.
Yeah.
30 seconds later. That's how it is for every single team. You do not touch the quarterback.
Yeah.
So to go from that to, hi, my name's Thibodeau, and I'll be drilling you into the ground, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big step, is it not?
Yeah. It's huge. I mean, I think in recent years they've been trying to do studies in terms of the impact tackles are, and I'm trying to think, was it American football or was it rugby union, that they said the impact of a tackle was the same impact as a car crash. Like how can you have a guy preparing to be hit like he's hitting a car crash if it hasn't happened for 8 months?
And I hope there's nobody watching that thinks to themselves, it's only the Giants. Yeah, the Giants who made the playoffs last year out of the NFC East with 2 teams making it in front of them.
Yeah.
The Giants are not the mugs that they were 3 years ago. The Giants have improved vastly.
Yeah.
Their wide receiver talent is a little bit questionable, but they've got their running game and they've got a very, very good defense.
Yeah.
The Giants will expect. Do you know what I expect? I think the Giants will be planning to finish second. They won't say it out loud, but I think the Giants are planning to take one of the wild card slots out of second, and that means dislodging either ourselves or the Eagles.
Yeah.
Because if you make the playoffs one year and then don't make it the next year, that's regression, and nobody likes to regress.
Yeah.
That whole Giants D line goes hell for leather in a week's time.
Yeah.
And I just, like you say, Brian, I don't know how you can simulate the effects of a car crash.
Yeah.
Because these guys know how to hit. Do you know what? I keep thinking back to Tony Romo's collarbone.
Yeah.
It just the punishment on the body from that first sack, having not felt anything like it, it must be horrific. It must be absolutely horrific. But again, we're not the only team that's done it. There's been plenty of teams that have said, "Yeah, we're not putting our starting QB in there."
Yeah.
But in the past week, 2 Super Bowl winners have played. Is it a copycat league or not?
Yeah, very true.
You know,
if we kind of flip it the other way, and Elizabeth and Mark have kind of came in with a differing opinion. Marcus said, "I don't have a problem with starters sitting for the preseason. Preseason is for evaluation on guys that are not starters. They're professionals. They will be ready." And then Elizabeth is saying, not everyone hits the same. So whether he's hitting preseason or a season opener, he will adapt. We have enough injuries with the young head trying for a spot. You know? And Mark again is saying high school and college don't have a preseason. Like, there are fair points that they're making in terms of protecting guys. And
I think my main reasoning behind this is the quarterback position.
Yeah.
You know, I think that the main core of my problem is the quarterback position.
Yeah.
And I understand Mark's point that high school and college don't have preseason, but high school and college don't have 300-pound, 6'7" men hitting the gym 5 days a week who know how to hit. That Micah Parsons' sole purpose in life right now is to hit somebody.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in high school and college, you maybe hit the gym, twice, 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
Micah Parsons will be in the Cowboys conditioning room 5-6 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
Learning how to hit, putting on the muscle, it's just different. And there will be guys up and down the league doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the other points you raised, Brian. Sorry.
So I suppose the other way to flip it is that, you know, right, take 2016, and you kind of mentioned Tony Romo and the hit to his collarbone, and that was a sliding doors moment, right? Mark is saying we need to see Texas high school football. Absolutely, Mark. we definitely do. But going back to what I was saying, so 2016, it was a sliding doors moment. Tony went down in pre-season. Dak comes in, Tony goes down, injures his collarbone. Kellen Moore breaks his leg. Dak Prescott comes in and seizes his opportunity. We would never have found out what we had in Dak Prescott in 2016 if those moments hadn't have happened.
But that was, how often do you see that?
Yeah.
You know,
and that's
like
very valid.
There is a couple, I'll give you that. There's a couple of situations where, you know, Brock Purdy is obviously the current one. Kirk Cousins was a 4th round pick behind Robert Griffin.
Yep.
But it's not the situation to roll the dice. You know, it's not the kind of position where you go, QB1's gone down. Who's next? And you just throw the next guy in there, because it doesn't, you know, like I said, there aren't 32 to go around. So you don't forget about the next 32. Who's next? You know, it's not a position you toy lightly with, because if you don't win, you pretty much you get Jerry Jones or whoever on the phone. Yeah, we need to have a conversation. Can you come up to my office? And before you know it, there's a brown box sitting on your desk. Wonderful things do happen, but don't invite them. Don't invite them. Prescott was nice to have, but Zeke Elliott helps. Tyler Smith helps. Zach Martin helps. Evening, Kirsty. Sorry if I mispronounced this, but I think Ashish brought up a point that I think it's all new analytics. And it probably is. Mike McCarthy is an analytical guy. I just think that the Chiefs will have an analytics department. The Jets will have one. The Bills will have one. And they all put their guys out. I hear so often that it's a copycat league. Right now, we're not copying the winners. Right now, the Cowboys are under the impression that, don't worry about it, we'll be fine. Whereas Andy Reid's saying, yeah, I need to put my Super Bowl winner in. Yeah, I know the guy has 2 Super Bowl rings, but I feel like I need to put him in. Or Patrick Mahomes is, coach, I need to play. I feel like I need to get used to my receivers. Like, has it crossed Dak Prescott's mind that he's never thrown a live ball to Brandon Cooks? I don't know. Maybe it has. Maybe they feel that it is all good to go. Hope they're right. Hope they're right. And Mark, I know you're saying we will be good. And the likelihood is we will. The likelihood is we will. The likelihood is that the Cowboys are a better team than the Giants, and they will go and get the first win. They might go to 2-3. They might go to 3-0. They might go to 2-0. They might go to 3-0, and that's fine. And I will absolutely praise them. I will say, they were right to do it, because they've taken less hits. They've spent less time on the field. More time in shorts is obviously a good thing. But I can't say that right now. I can only look across the teams that go deep into January, the teams that play in February, and those teams are putting their guys out.
Mm-hmm. And like if we consider it, and like we're not knocking anyone's comments here or anything like that. Like the idea here around these roundtables is that, you know, we try and give you both sides of the argument. You know, people will have strong feelings in either direction, and there's no right or wrong answer with it, but it's worth talking about, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah,
you know, so you know, we do appreciate the comments coming in.
To that point, Brian, that's why I brought up I brought up the point about analytics. I absolutely believe that's true.
Yeah.
The Cowboys analytics department will have said to Mike McCarthy at some point, or hopefully he'll have gone to them, or vice versa. It doesn't matter who.
Yeah.
But they will have gone to him and said, "Look, you don't need to put Dak in.
Yeah.
Dak will be fine. I mean, he's probably going to get sacked, 2-3 times, maybe in the entire game. He could get injured. Yes, he could. That's where we try and bring balance to this conversation. That's the two. I think that's the two main points behind the starters not playing. They could end up injured, which derails the entire season before it's even started. And the analytics say that practice is good enough.
Yeah.
But again, the point I always go back to, the guy that is polishing his brand new Super Bowl ring to go with the other one has played.
Yeah.
So is it a copycat league or not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is very true. So, unless there's anything more you want to talk about in this, Graham, we'll get a quick, feel for the season from you, and we'll get out of here.
Just to answer that last question that's come in, Brian.
Yeah.
From Ashish, I don't mind it.
Yeah.
I don't mind it. Fine. I mean, if you want to call plays for Denver Broncos players, then that's fine.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, Will Greer is now on the Denver Broncos practice squad.
Yeah.
He played the entire game against the Raiders, 35 pass attempts, 29 completions, 2 touchdowns, and he looked absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
But guess what? He's now in another team. So what was the point of that? It just I don't understand it. Do you not think Cooper Rush, coach, could I go in here? No, we're trying to get Will Greer a move. We're trying to get him on a roster somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to let me get in there for the no. We're gonna try and help the Broncos with their quarterback situation. All right, cool. Why just go and sit down then? Yeah, you go and sit down. You see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Anyway, on the entire season, Will Greer was never going to make that squad. I'm sorry. You turn in a performance, you go 29 pass completions, 2 touchdowns against the Raiders, and still don't make the team. He was never going to make the team.
No.
Oh, right. Anyway, on the season, Rich and I have stressed about the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
We've stressed about that not playing, or some of us have. We've questioned the linebacker depth. Couple of strange moves, especially now that Overshawn has pulled up for the season.
Yeah.
Couple of strange moves there. We'll see how that goes. I've seen Mukwamo listed at linebacker.
Yeah.
That'll be that'll be interesting. I think ESPN have him listed at linebacker right now. I will just put. Let's see. Sorry, I do apologise. They have Marquise Bell down as the second middle linebacker.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes. We've been thin at linebacker in the past.
Yeah.
And we've brought in a safety. Goodness, so many safeties. I think the last time I checked, with 6 safeties on the team.
6.
Maybe one of them gets converted. Maybe I know they like to play 3 deep. Maybe one of them plays like weak side at some point.
Yeah.
I do feel good. I do feel good about the season. As much as I've stressed about it, you've got to talk about something.
Yeah.
I think the very bottom line of it is that the Cowboys are a good team, and they will be looking to make the playoffs. But it's not a great show if we sit here and say to everybody that's listening, yeah, everything's fine. Don't worry about it. It's all rosy.
Yeah.
We're going to go 13-4, and we're going to rock into the postseason. Don't worry about it. And then we cut the show there. So these are talking points, but they're not the be-all and end-all. When Tyron Smith goes down, they will have a plan. Mike McCarthy is an analytical guy. It won't have come as a surprise to him that Tyron went down last year. He will expect it this year. And they'll deal with it, whether it's Jason Peters, whether it's Tyler Smith moving outside, and they move pieces around then.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I do think we have a shot at the division.
Yeah.
I do think we have a shot at the division. The Eagles are not they're not invincible.
No.
Their running back situation again is by committee. They do have holes.
Yeah.
It's not like they are unbeatable.
Yeah.
I think the NFC East will be the best division in football again. There's no reason to say otherwise. 3 contenders last year. They've kept the cores of their team. Like nobody's walked out the door. We've managed to extend a couple of guys, which is great. I do feel good about it. Good about it.
So we're ending on a positive.
We are ending on a positive. These are just talking points.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody will have raised it to Mike McCarthy at some point. But there's no show without a little bit of back and forth.
Yeah.
Interesting point from Mark. He thinks that Jalen Hurts will not ball out like he did last year. There's every chance. Let's see how Jalen Hurts plays now that he's been paid. It's a lot to pay a running back, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. And he's not going to be allowed to be pushed into the end zone like he was. It's not going to be rugby union where you can scrum and maul your way over the line anymore.
Listen, they're NFC champions, and they deserve to be in the conversation. Of course, they do. The mobile quarterback. That's just the way the position's moving. It is a mobile position now. They've made some moves I like. They've got some players that could break out, but so do we. Do we. I don't think our defensive line has ever looked, well, not ever, but in the past 5 years, it's the best it's looked in the past 5-10 years. From my point of view, we've 2 excellent pass rushers, and we have defensive interior help as well now. Dak is 24-4 in the division. It's Ashish, I don't know if you're new to the show or if you've watched in the background or whatever, but we do take Dak for granted sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think it shows as a fan base that we expect the Cowboys to be in the playoffs. Cowboys Nation will go into meltdown if they don't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And we do take that for granted. The problem that a lot of Cowboys Nation has is January.
Yeah.
Whether it's a deer in the headlights moment or pressure situations, or if he just feels too much responsibility, something falls over. You know, the crucial interceptions. I think we can all play the 49ers game in our heads. I mean, they progressed past us, and if Brock Purdy doesn't go down injured, it might have been a completely different story. Who knows?
Yeah.
Another great point from Mark. The defense is tremendous, and it has the depth. Maybe not a linebacker, but our defensive line's in good shape. Our safety position is in great shape. I don't think we've ever... I mean, you could argue it's the best the core has been.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
If somebody goes down, you have every confidence in the next guy coming on.
Yeah.
And how often have we said that as Cowboys Nation? That we love the safety position so much. And Elizabeth's right. A lot of it is down to Dan Quinn. Because a lot of these guys, they were discarded. They weren't wanted. And Quinn said, look, your last team were wrong. And to a man, they've taken the situation and improved on it. And it's a fantastic looking position. I'll say again, I think the Cowboys D is top 5, maybe top 3. I would have to take a look across, but it's possibly top 3.
Yeah.
You're talking up there with the Ravens, up there with, I couldn't even name you, up there with the 49ers.
That other team we don't talk about.
Well, yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it's exciting.
Yeah.
It's exciting because they used to call it the NFC least. You don't hear that anymore. Perception about Dak is unwarranted. I can see. I did agree with you 100%. I did agree with you 100%. But his record against the NFC East is unrivaled. The problem is January.
Yeah.
You don't play against the NFC East in January.
Yeah.
You go up to Green Bay, or you go west to the 49ers. And there's just some, I don't know if it's in there, if it's in the head, but there's just something that falls over. Hopefully we're over that now.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're over it.
Very true.
I mean, what do you think on the whole lot of it? Like what we've burned over the past 6 months?
What concerns me is I don't have an issue with the defense. What concerns me is the offense. Because, as you say, Dak Prescott has never thrown to his number 2 or number 3 wide receiver. The offensive line is a little bit older. We still have question marks over our left guard. We've question marks about who our starting running back is and have they the ability to be a ground and pound monster, which is what we need. And it's the offense that is the big issue for me. It's what scares me, is whether it can get it done. Because if you look back, the last 2 years against the 49ers, we've been to within a score, and our defense has balled out in both of those games. That's the concern for me.
It's very easy to place positional groups on last year's viewings, because that's all you can do.
Yeah.
You don't know in a live game situation who has improved, who has declined.
Yeah.
But I think if we were to go through the positional group, you would say wide receiver improved. So it's arrow up, green arrow up.
Yeah.
Running back, if you're honest, you've got to say downgrade.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what Deuce is going to be.
Yeah.
Can Tony Pollard handle the workload that he's got now? Or does Deuce simply take what Pollard had and Pollard takes what Zeke had? Is it going to be that kind of way? They're very, very similar. There's not much variety for me in the top two guys. Obviously, the deeper down the chart, you have got a bit of variety, but I don't know if the 1-2 punch is there anymore. It's more like for like for me now, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Everybody has a prototype idea of what a running back is.
Yeah.
Quarterback, you're probably saying it's on even, so par, you go on par, so not up, not down. An O-line, everybody's a year older, and that's not necessarily a bad thing in terms of Tyler Biadasz, Tyler Smith. That's not a bad thing, but is Zach Martin a little bit more disgruntled that he's not wearing a Super Bowl ring? Is Tyron Smith gonna make it to 8 games? Who knows?
Yeah.
The NFL season isn't 8 games long; it's 17 games long. So, how do you deal with that? Does Terrence Steele come back and be the player that we want him to be? We don't know. We don't know, and I think that's what's causing a lot of anxiety. So you would have to downgrade the offensive line. Now, quick recap: that's 2 downgrades, a medium, or a as is, and 1 upgrade. So that's where your thinking is.
Yeah,
I think, Brian. Flip it. D-line is improved. Corner is probably improved, you'd have to say, with Stephon Gilmore coming in.
Yeah.
Safety positions still there. Maybe not improved, but it's going to be as good as.
Yeah.
A middle linebacker, maybe downgrade. I would maybe it's maybe a downgrade on last season, but that's the only downgrade that I can think of.
Yeah.
Jabril Cox has obviously been cut for a reason.
Yeah.
We'll see. But we don't have to wait much longer. We only have to wait 8 more days.
8 more days. And it will be here. So, unless there's anything else, Graham, from you, we'll start wrapping up.
Unless there's any more questions that want to come in from viewers tonight, but I don't think there is. I think we've.
Yeah.
Do you know? I think ourselves as podcasts talkers, I think we're all just ready for the season now.
Yeah.
I think we've picked the team to death, and me in particular, I think I've picked at it maybe a little bit too much, but that's all you can do right now.
Yeah.
As soon as we have, I mean, goodness, NFL.com has been doing it for the past 6 months. I mean, see some of the rubbish I've seen coming out of ESPN, and somebody's cat was up a tree the other day and they had to go and get it and he fell down and hurt his ankle. Ridiculous stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because they've nothing to talk about. They couldn't even talk about whether Tom Brady was going to retire or not. And soon it'll be Aaron Rodgers watch. Before it was Far watch or Brady watch or whatever. The next one will be Aaron Rodgers, obviously.
Yeah.
But thank goodness we've got real football to talk about from next week. It's probably going to be the most watched Thursday night game of all time because everybody's desperate for live football.
and us college football nerds have been here in Europe mainly have been denied our Saturday afternoon fix as well. So definitely think Thursday night is going to be very, very tuned into.
Well, I don't have to worry about that. Joe, we feel your pain. Bring up Joe's comment.
Yeah,
for the audio listeners, Joe's just said the only thing I hate about Sunday night football is waiting up to until 2 a.m. in the morning. Joe, we absolutely feel you. Yeah, we're a little bit behind you, obviously, but wow, it's tough going, and that's part of the problem with being a Cowboys fan. I think the Cowboys have 6 primetime games this year.
Yeah.
Wow, that's even worse. Let us know where you're from. But wow, that's tough. That's hard going.
Yeah,
that's a problem, especially when you lose.
I'm with Joe next week in terms of I'll be on the 2 a.m. watch because I'm heading for Italy tomorrow evening. Oof. So yeah, I might have to get a bottle of wine and tell my wife we're doing nothing next Monday.
But I think I'll close out. I think I'll close out the last kind of show before the pre-game.
Yeah.
Think what situation we could be in. Like think of the teams picking top 5 in the draft. I think sometimes Middle East, that's hard going for us. That's tough. Yeah. But think of some of the situations we could be in. We're not in the top 5 picks every year. We are there. We are contenders, and we're contenders every single year. And I think me in particular, I sometimes lose sight of that. But the problem being contenders every year that we haven't progressed to the promised land of lifting the Lombardi. And I think that's where the problem comes from. But boy, it could be so much worse.
Yeah,
it really could.
I think in terms of what you're saying there, Graham, it's probably a frustration because we've seen that team that we dare not mention go and win a Super Bowl, have a couple of bad years, come back, get to another Super Bowl, whilst we've been relatively consistent the whole time. Elizabeth is just responding to Jones or Mark and saying, "I'm in New Jersey dealing with the Dirty Birds."
That's tough. That's tough sledding as well because you've got Giants, Jets, Eagles up there, Patriots even. Goodness, that's tough sledding, Elizabeth. I feel for you there as well.
So we will start closing things out, and look, obviously we will be back to 2 weeks. Not from this week coming, but from the following week. Mike and the team will be along on Thursday night to preview the Giants game. We will be back the following Tuesday with the first postseason game the post game show of the season. I'll obviously not be along as I'm gone away. But you might have Graham in the host chair for that, or you might have Rich in the host chair. We've yet to figure it out. So
hopefully the numbers will go through the roof for that one. Or end up sacked.
But I'm just looking to see there. Yeah. No, there's nothing else there in those comments that we need to bring up. So, look, Graham, I'll give you the final word. It's a good night from me.
Yeah. It's almost there, folks. Hang tough. Thank you for listening to us moan through the off-season. We have the season is done. Out the road. On to the Giants. Let's go.
Good night.